How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Pei Gimel, Daf 83 of Masechta Ksubis. Friends, oh man, I rub my eyes, scratch my head, stretch a little bit. Should we yawn? My mom said that the Rabbi Yisrael joke is getting old. I told her just give it some time; it'll get better. What do you want me to tell you? We're starting a new parak, we're starting a new parak, Hakosef. Okay, parak Hakosef liishto. Okay, it sounds good. We're learning a parak Hakosef liishto. Okay, what do you want me to tell you? I don't know. Let's just learn it. I don't know, nichse melog and stuff. Hakosef liishto. A fellow writes to his friend, Din udvarim ein li benichsech. He says that I got nothing to do with your properties. Okay, nichse melog. Yeah, I think we're talking about nichse melog over here. Yeah. Benichsech, with your properties. Harezeh ochel peiros b'chayev v'meisa yarsha. Seemingly it's irrelevant, right? Meaning he can continue eating the fruits, and if she dies, he inherits her. Well then, how come he wrote Dinu Dvarim Ein Li B'nichsech? Apparently it makes no difference. He could still eat the fruits. If she dies, he still inherits her. And for the Gemara, and for the Mishnah, that at this point she'll be able to sell it. Right? So of course we know that if they're married, she's unable to sell the Nichse Maluk. But if he says Dinu Dvarim Ein Li B'nichsech, so then she can sell it. As long as she does not sell it, he could still continue to chapara in the Paris, and also if she dies, he gets the property. So if he writes that I'm not going to have anything to do with your properties, uv perosei, but this time he specifies and the fruits as well. Well, in that case, so then he can't eat the fruits. And if she dies, Yorsha, he will inherit the property. Okay, so he'll still inherit the property, but he won't be able to eat the fruits. Rabbi Yehuda says, that he'll be able to eat the fruits of the fruits. And the Gemara is going to explain what the peri-peris are. Until he writes there, Dinu Dvarim Ein Li B'nichsech, Uv Perusein, Uv Peri-Perusein. Until he writes, look, I don't want anything to do with your property, nor with the fruits, nor the fruits of the fruits. Ad olam, forever. If he writes to her, I don't want anything to do with your property, uv perusein, as well as the fruits, uv perusein, and the fruits of the fruits, bechayech uv mosech, when you're alive and when you're dead. In ocha peres bechayel. So he cannot eat fruits when she is alive, ve'emesa, and if she dies, eino yorsha. He does not inherit her. Reb Shimon Gamliel says, Reb Shimon Gamliel, the Mesa, if she dies, Yerushena, he will inherit her. I just got, alright, okay. Wait, I have to turn this over because it's going to distract me. So then, right, Mesa Yerushena, so if she dies, he will inherit her, because he's playing with fire. He's making a condition, he's making a tanai, on something that's written in the Torah, right? The Torah says that a husband inherits his wife, and therefore if she dies, he gets the property, and he's saying, no, I'm not going to get the properties. Well, you know you're not going to get the properties. The Torah says you get the properties, What do I mean to tell you? If a fellow makes a Tanai on something that's written in the Torah, the Tanai is null and void. So therefore, says Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, that if he says he's not going to get anything from the property, and the fruits, life, death, everything. So the according to Shimon Gamliel, it does not work. It is masna mashkos b'Torah. Says the Gemara, Tani Reb Chia Omer liishto. So Reb Chia says not just hakosev liishto, not just somebody who writes to his wife these things, but even if he says it to her, that he's not going to get any benefit from the properties or whatever. Now 1 second. Even if he writes these things, what difference should it make? Right? He says that he's not going to get any benefit from these things. What difference should it make anyways? After all, we learned in a brayse, if a fellow, right? Yeah, Reuven and Shimon own a property together. Okay? And Reuven says to Shimon, Dinudvarm ainli al sadezo. Forget it, I don't have anything to do with this field anymore. Veinli eisek ba, viodai misulekes emeno. I got nothing to do with this field anymore. Lo omar klum. He said nothing. Irrelevant. In order for it, are people yelling? They might be. They might be. Don't they know I'm recording Babylon Talmud? So, where were we? So Reuven and Shimon own a field. If Reuven wants to give up his part in the field, he's got to give it as a gift to Shimon. He's got to give it as a gift to Shimon. He can't just say, I don't want anything to do with my part of the field. He has to gift it to Shimon. And as long as he hasn't gifted it to Shimon, it means nothing. And therefore, if he says that, I don't want anything to do with this field, it's irrelevant. So they say by the Besmedrash of Rabbi Yanai, Bekosif lava'oda aruso. So they say by the Besmedrash of Rabbi Yanai that over here, where the husband is writing this to his wife, that it's not going to have anything to do with the property, etc., it's before they're married, right? They're only engaged at this point. And because they're not yet married, so he hasn't yet inherited the property, right? He's not considered like an owner of the property at all. And because he's not considered an owner of the property, he could make this stipulation. Meaning, when you have Reuven and Shimon who jointly own the property, they're both owners of the property, so then Reuven can't just leave the property, he has to give it as a gift to Shimon. However, in this case, the husband doesn't yet own the property because he's not an owner yet in the property. She owns the property, but he's not considered like a manda omer. He's not considered like an owner of the property in this case because why? Because they're only engaged. And therefore, that's why he's allowed to say this thing of Din Udvar mainly b'nichseh. Fine. Kedav Kana, like Rav Kana, the Rav Kana that says Rav Kana, Nachla abba lo'adam b'makom acher, that a inheritance that comes to somebody from some other place, such as Nichsei Maluk, right? They don't come from his sort of line of descendants or ascendants. Dennis, is that a thing? Ascendants? So if it comes from some other place, like through marriage, so then Odamas Na'aleh, a fellow can make conditions about it. Shelo Yeroshena, that he's not going to inherit it. U'chidiravan, like Rava, the Amar Rava says, Rava Omer, Yefshi b'takonas chachomim kigon zo, that if a fellow says that I can't deal with takonas chachomims like this, Shomila, we listen to him. My kigon zo, what's this? Kidrafuna, it's like Rafuna Amar Rav. The Rafuna Amar Rav says Rafuna in the name of Rav, Yichol le'isha shetomer le'bayla, right, as we've seen before, that a wife could say to her husband, look, einin nizonos ve'eni osa, that don't pay for my food, and I'm keeping the stuff that I make. So therefore, just like there's a takonas chachamim, that the chachamim are looking out for the best interest of this, to help out this wife and say, look, you don't have to worry about paying for your food, right? Your husband's going to take care of all that stuff, but the trade-off is whatever you make belongs to him. She could say, look, thank you very much that you're doing me this favor. I don't need the favor. I'm making enough money on my own, or I'll figure it out on my own, whatever it is. Let him not pay for my food. I'm going to take care of myself. She's allowed to say that. She's allowed to say, no, thank you. So here also, right, the chachamim are being nice to the husband. They're saying, look, the property belongs to your wife, but you're entitled to the fruits. He's allowed to say, look, thank you very much, but I don't want the fruits. Dinudvar mainly b'nichsech v'peiris saying, fine. Well, if that's the case, then even if they're married as well, then he should be able to say, look, thank you very much, but I don't need this. Abai says, Abai, nisua yado ki yado. Well, Abai says, yeah, but the thing is that once they're married already, then they have equal, right? His hand is like her hand, with regards to the property, and therefore he is considered like, somewhat of an owner, and therefore he can't just say that I don't want anything to do with it, as we learned earlier, that when people jointly own something, they have to give it as a gift. Rava Omer Yodo Adifa Miyada, and Rava says that his hand is even sort of stronger than hers, so then certainly he's considered, somewhat like an owner, and therefore he can't just, back away from it, he would have to gift it. Nafkamina l'shomeres yavam. What's the difference if his hand is equal to her hand, or if his hand is greater than her hand? The nafkamina is with regard to shomeres yavam, in terms of who can inherit her property. It depends, right? Either her the inheritors of her husband would chapet arayin, or her family would chapet arayin. Okay, depending on whose hand is stronger. So if they're equal, if yadu kiyados, then they would divide it up equally. If it's yadu adif miyados, so then the husband's family would inherit it. All right, what do you want me to tell you? Ibailu nitaka asks kasha konem yado mau. So in the case of the two people with the field, so what if they made like a kinyan? Right, so what if they made a kinyan about it? Right, so you have Reuven and Shimon own this field. Reuven says to Shimon, look, I don't have anything to do with this field, and we said that he can't do that. But what if they made a kinyan? Right, that they picked up a pen maybe or something, maybe some kind of a kinyan, so that then he's like transferring his property to, Reuven's transferring his ownership to Shimon. So, what if they make a kinyan? Amr of Yosef, midinu dvarim konem yadu. So if Yosef says, well, the kinyan is basically the same thing as the dinu dvarim. Basically, it's irrelevant. Rav Nachman Omer megufa shel karka konem yadu. Whereas Rav Nachman says, no, the kinyan is going to be on the land, and you can make a kinyan on land, and he's basically transferring this land to Shimon. Reuven's transferring it to Shimon, so that would work. Amar Abai says, Abai mistavim Rav Yosef beorer. So says Abai, look, I understand Rav Yosef's opinion that it wouldn't be a good kinyan if Reuven then immediately says, wait, you can't, I don't want you to have this field. But if he lets it, sit for like a little bit before he says anything to Shimon, so then, so then it would be considered a good kinyan and it would belong to Shimon. Amar Meimar says, Meimar says that from, it says a Meimar that no, it is taka good kinyan. When you say that it's a good kinyan, is that only if he doesn't say anything right away, or is it even if he argues right away, would it still be a good kinyan? The Ma'anaf Kamina, what's the difference? Rav Yosef, it's like, well, with regard to Rav Yosef, right? Would we say that it's a good kinyan or not? So he says, look, I didn't hear anything about this. Meaning it makes no difference whether there was an orer, whether it was orer or omed. Either way, it's going to be a good kinyan. Imkein lama kosav lo v'chulei. So we said earlier. So then, why did he write? Why did he write to her? Right at the beginning of the Mishnah, it says kosav liishto dinudvar meili benichsech. So he says it basically makes no difference. He still eats the fruits. If she dies, he inherits her. So what's the point? So we said, well, that if she said, right, that she's still allowed to sell it. So it says the Gemara, why doesn't she just say to her husband, look, husband guy, if you don't want anything to do with my property, you don't need to have anything to do with your property. Go buy your own fruits. Fruit not eater guy. So right? Why is it just that she's now allowed to sell it? Why doesn't she say, also, fellow, you're not allowed to eat the fruits. Also, when I die, you can't have them. You can't have the property. So because when you have a shtar, when you have a document that isn't particularly clear, right? I mean, he didn't specify in the document, in terms of specifically about selling and inheriting. He just said, so in that case, so you take kind of the lowest, kind of the weakest point, right? The least invasive avenue, I guess. And therefore, the least invasive avenue is that she's allowed to sell it. So basically, when he says, right, when he writes to her, dinu dvarim ein li benichsech, so there are three options, right? Three options for us three places or ways that we can apply it, right? One is to say that it applies to her ability to sell the property, that since he said dinu dvarim ein li benichsech, she is now allowed to sell it. Or you could say that because he says dinu dvarim ein li benichsech, he is no longer allowed to eat the fruits. He doesn't have a right to them. Or you could say he no longer inherits her and inherits these properties when she dies. Now we have chosen to say that it applies to her being able to sell it. That when he says dinu dvarim ein li benichsech, it means that okay, now she could sell it even though they're married. The question is, how did we arrive at that conclusion that is where he's kind of stepping away from? So So when you have a star that isn't particularly detailed, so you just gotta kind of take the sort of least invasive path. So why don't we say that the least invasive path is the fruits, and say that when he says Dinu Dvarim Enli B'Nichseich, it means that he can no longer eat the fruits of the Nichsei Melub. Amar Abai says, Abai Butzina Tav Mikora. That something that is readily available is better than something that will be available in the future, which is a pretty gishmake concept, right? Meaning if you have a little smaller squash, and he says, look, either you can have a little smaller squash now, or you can wait, and then you'll have a bigger squash. Butzina tava mikara, right? Just take the smaller, right? Take the smaller one. Take what you can right now, what's readily available now. Who knows what will be in the future, right? So therefore, if you have an option to take a smaller squash now, or to wait to some future time, and then you'll get a potentially larger one, just take what you can right now. So therefore, in terms of his benefit, if right now there are fruits, he's going to want those fruits, and therefore he's not backing off of those. Ve'ema mi Yerusha. Okay, so maybe when he says Dinu Dvarim Enli B'Nichseich, it means that he shouldn't inherit her. Amar Abai misa shchicha mechira lo shchicha. Well, it's common to die. Lots of people die, but selling stuff. Selling nichsei melug is a less common thing. And therefore, if he's backing away from something and saying dinu dvarim enli b'nichseich, it's going to be something that's less common, right? And such as, right, it's pretty not so invasive if he just says, look, if you sell it, you could sell it now. She's probably not going to sell it anyways. But to say that he's not going to inherit her if she dies, so that's, he's not going to be talking about that. Ravashi Omer says, Ravashi b'nichsaich v'lo b'perisein, b'nichsaich v'lo lachar misa. So it says Ravashi, you can make a diuk from what he says, right? Dinu dvarim enli b'nichsaich. So, right, davka your property, but it's not a reference to the fruits. And davka, your property when it's yours, but not after you are dead. What do you want me to tell you? Said the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Omer la'olam u'ochel peri peris. So Rabbi Yehuda had said, right? So Rabbi Yehuda had said in the Mishnah that he can eat the pere peris, which we're going to explain in a second what that is. He can eat the pere peris until he specifies, that I'm not going to eat the pere peris. All right. Tanarabbanan, the rabbis taught, Eluain peris, ve'eluain pere peris. These are the peris and these are the pere peris. Hechnisa lo karka. If she had nichsei melug, if she brought, she had property, v'asusa peris, then the property had fruits. Harein peris, those are the peris. Mocher peris v'lokoch mein karka. If he sold those peris and then bought other fruits, v'asusa peris, and brought other property, v'asusa peris, and then that property made peris. Harein pere peris. That would be considered pere peris, the fruits of the new property that was purchased with the money from the fruits of the original property. Okay, sounds like fun. Ibarlu de asakasha. Pere peris dafka, oduma ad olam dafka. Okay, so Rabbi Yehuda had said two things in the Mishnah, right? That he says pere peris ad olam. So is it? Do you need specific, like which one, right? Pere peris means like the fruits of the fruits, and ad olam means forever. Do you need like it to say pere peris and ad olam? Oh, dilma tavayu dafka. Right, so meaning maybe you only need peris, maybe you only need pere peris, maybe you only need ad olam, or maybe you need both. Okay, what do you want me to tell you? Imtim tzulam pere peris davke ad olam lomali. And if you're going to say, well, if you say that you dafka need pere peris, but you don't need it to say forever. So then why does it say forever? Hakamashbalan, it's coming to teach us, came the cause of the pere peris, that if he says pere peris, command the cause of the ad olam dami, it's basically like he's saying ad olam forever. And if you say forever, davka, that's what you need. So pere peris lomali, so why do you have pere peris dartin? Hakamashbalan, it's teaching us, avagav the cause of the pere peris, that even though he said pere peris, it's not enough. He kosov lad elam in ilo kosov ilo lo. That if it's important that he writes ad olam. If he doesn't write ad olam, then forget about it. Vimtim tzelomer tarvayu davke. And if you say that you taka need both, peri peris and adolam, so tarti lamali, why do I need both? Tzricha, I need it. Because of law, peri peris, v'lo kos of law ad elam, that if you would only write peri peris, but not forever, havamina peri peris udelo achil, that he doesn't eat the fruits of the fruits, aval peri de peri peris achil, but the fruits of the fruits of the fruits, okay, he can eat. That's why he needed to say forever. Because of la adolam, and if you only said forever, because of la peri peris, and you didn't write peri peris, I would have thought la olam a peris koi. I would thought that la olam means onto the peris, right? I mean that he doesn't eat the peris forever, but he would be able to eat peri peris. So la'achi itztich peri peris. That's why you need peri peris to say that it refers to the fruits of the fruits, but also and the fruits of those as well. What if he says that I don't have anything to do with your property as well as the fruits of the fruits? Ma'ushi ochal peris. Can he eat the fruits? Right. So he's not allowed to eat the fruits of the fruits. But what about the fruits themselves? Mi peri peris solik nafshe, mi peri le solik nafshe. Did he only say that he's not going to eat the fruits of the fruits, but he can eat the fruits? Maybe he's saying he's not going to eat anything. Not the fruits of the fruits. Pshita, it's obvious that he must be saying that he's not going to eat any of them. The Omer mi peri peris solik nafshe, mi peri lo solik nafshe. Because if you say that he's only saying that he's not going to eat the fruits of the fruits, but he is going to eat the fruits, but if he's eating the fruits, then now they're going to be fruits of fruits. He already ate the fruits. You can't then sell them to buy other property to get fruits of fruits. Well, the timing, but 1 second, that's not such a stark argument, because Hadutnan, that was shown in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda, la'olamu ochel peri peris v'chulei, that he can continue eating the fruits of the fruits. Kevon de achlunu le peri peris me'echa. Well, if he's already eating the fruits, then how is he getting to the fruits of the fruits? No, it's talking about when there are leftovers. So if there are leftover fruits that he hasn't eaten, so then there could be fruits that come from that. Okay, what do you want me to tell you? Friends, what should we do? We can go weiter. Think about it this way. If we go weiter now, then there's just less to do tomorrow. What do you think? Let's do it. Let's live a little bit. Let's do it. Yeah, we're going to go weiter. That's it. We're doing it because it's a Yom Noraim. I mean, I'm recording this before the Yom Noraim, but I don't know. You're going to hear it at some point. Is it the Yom Noraim yet when you're going to hear this? I don't know. But we have to show the Eibishter that we're going to go the extra mile, and that's why we're going to go weiter, because we're going the extra mile. Somebody, I have this chus to go out for dinner on the first night of Rosh Hashanah, and the people asked me if I'm still a vegetarian. So I said I am. So they said it's all right. My sister's coming; she's also vegetarian. So I said something about eating a carrot, and she said she'll make 2, one for me, one for the sister. And then we said something. Who gets the bigger one? I said, you know what? She can have it, because if I show the Eibishter that I'm not such a kamtzin, that I'm not so makpid, maybe the Eibishter won't be so makpid on me. Friends, we gotta go weiter. So Reb Shimon ben Gamliel said that so if the guy says that he's not going to get any benefit from the fruits and stuff, not during the life, not during the death, so then he doesn't inherit her. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says, you bet he inherits her, because it's not up to him to not inherit her, right? So it says in the Torah that he inherits her, and therefore, it'll be masna masha kosa b'Torah. He's not allowed to do that. Fine. Amar Rav says, Rav halacha Reb Shimon ben Gamliel v'lav mi taimi. Says Rav that the halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, but not for the reason. But not for Reb Shimon ben Gamliel's reason. What does Rav mean when he says that the halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, but not for the stated reason. If you're going to say, well, what it means is that the halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, that Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says that if she dies, then he will inherit her. Okay. But not for the reason that Reb Shimon ben Gamliel gives. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel sovim masna mashakos b'Torah to no bottle, because Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, as he stated, holds that masna mashakos b'Torah, if a fellow makes a stipulation regarding something that's written in the Torah, it's bottle, it's irrelevant. And therefore, if he's saying that he's not going to inherit her, you bet he inherits her. The Torah says he inherits her, he inherits her. For Rav Sover, but Rav disagrees. To know Kayim, that in general, if you're masna mashakos b'Torah, so the Tanai is fine, it works. Because Sover Yerusha Sabal D'Rabbanan. But Rav holds that Yerusha inheritance is Midrabanan. And the reason why the Tanai doesn't work and he inherits her is because the Chachamim make their takanas more stringent than the Doraisas to make sure that people are going to pay attention. So therefore, both Rav and Reb Shimon ben Gamliel at the end of the day hold that the husband would inherit her, even though he says whatever. Still, right, both Rav and Reb Shimon ben Gamliel are saying that he would inherit her, but for different reasons. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel is saying is that Yerusha Sabal is Doraisa and we masna mashakos b'Torah to know bottle, whereas Rav says that Yerusha Sabal is midrabanan, and even though masna mashakos b'Torah to know kayim, the rabbanon, to make sure that you're going to pay attention and follow the decrees, made it even more stringent than the Oraisis, and therefore the Tanai, that's why the Tanai is bottle. V'sova Rav to know kayim. But does Rav in fact hold that if a fellow is masna mashakos b'Torah to know kayim? V'ho itmar was stated that if a fellow, I think people are yelling outside, that if a fellow, I think they still are, that if a fellow, maybe they're not, maybe it's just in my head, that if a fellow sells epis to his friend, so he's not allowed to overcharge him. Not only is it not nice, it's also, you can't overcharge. So what if, and the pasuk says, right, what is it, lo sonu, al tonu, don't overcharge. So what if Reuven sells epis to Shimon and says, look, I'm selling it to you under the condition that, right, that you're waiving my right, meaning I'm not allowed to overcharge, but I'm going to sell this to you and overcharge you as long as you waive, any liability of mine for overcharging. Right? Because if you overcharge too much, then then the sale doesn't count. But he's basically saying, look, I'm overcharging you, but you're going to waive that and the sale is going to count. Rav Omer yesh lo olav ona. Rav says it's irrelevant. And ona still applies. Shmuel Omer ein lo olav ona. Whereas Shmuel says, no, ona, ein lo olav ona, that, no, if the guy agrees to not, be makbeh, to say the ona is okay, so then it's okay. So we see that Rav is saying that the fellow can't just stipulate that there's not going to be ona, because masna mashakos b'Torah to know bottle. So how did we just say a second ago that Rav holds that masna mashakos b'Torah to know kaim? So ela halacha Reb Shimon ben Gamliel to Amar. Rather, what it means is that the halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel to Amar, who says hamasna mashakos b'Torah to know bottle. That Rav is saying that the halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, that if a fellow is masna mashakos b'Torah, it's bottle. Rav and Reb Shimon ben Gamliel both agree of that. V'lav mitayme ben afruz rationale deilu Reb Shimon ben Gamliel savar, that Reb Shimon ben Gamliel holds mesa yurasheno, that if she dies, he will inherit her, the husband inherits her. Rav savar mesa lo yurasheno. Whereas Rav holds that if she dies, he will not inherit her. Hai mitayme v'lo kilchsahu, but that's punkt fakir. That's the opposite, right? That's not saying that the halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, but not for his rationale. That's saying that the rationale of masna mashakos b'Torah to know bottle is like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, but the halacha is not like him, because Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says that he does inherit, and Rav is saying that he does not inherit. So that's backwards. Elo halacha of Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. What Rav is saying is that the halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel to Omar. It may say Yuasheno, that if she dies, he will inherit her. Vilav mitayme, but not for his rationale. It's either Reb Shimon ben Gamliel savar. The Reb Shimon ben Gamliel holds that b'doraisa tno bottle, havidrabanon tno kaim. That by the oraise, the tnai is bottle. If you masna mashkasa b'torah, the tnai is bottle. Havidrabanon tno kaim. But by the rabbanons, the tnai would be would apply by the rabbanons, even if it's violating a rabbanon. Rav Savar, whereas Rav holds, I feel it with the rabbanon tno bottle. That even by the rabbanons, the tnai would be bottle, right? That if a fellow's masna makes a tnai regarding halacha midrabanon, it's bottle. But if that's the case, then Rav and Reb Shimon ben Gamliel are both agreeing essentially that he inherits her, and that masne, right? And that if you make a tnai against halacha, it's bottle. Rav Mosavu, just that Rav is going one step further regarding the rabbanons, but essentially they're agreeing, right? That wouldn't be an example of halacha being like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, but for a different reason. They have the same. They agree that masna masha kosav b'torah to know a bottle. Rav Savar. Wait, where am I? I skipped, right? Rather, says the Gemara, the halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. The Amar Mesa Yirashena, who says that if she dies, he will inherit her. Vilav mitayme, that if she dies, he will inherit her, but not for the reason that Reb Shimon ben Gamliel gave. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel saw Yerusha Sabado Oraise, because Reb Shimon ben Gamliel's rationale is that the husband inheriting his wife is midoraise. No bottle. And if somebody makes a tnai in that which is written in the Torah, so the tnai is bottle, and therefore he's still going to inherit her. Rav Savar, whereas Rav disagrees and holds Yerusha Sabado Rabbanon, that the husband inheriting his wife is midorabanon. And the Chachamim made their words like the Torah, right? So meaning, so both Rav and Reb Shimon ben Gamliel agree that when the wife dies, he will inherit her. But the rationale is different. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel's rationale is that Yerusha Sabal is the Oraise and Kol Masna Mashkos B'Torah to know bottle, whereas Rav holds that Yerusha Sabal is midrabanon. And the reason that he inherits her is because by the Rabbanans, the halacha is just like by the Oraises, that the Tanai would be bottle. And therefore, that is why he would inherit her. Does Rav really hold that the husband inheriting his wife is midrabanon? We learn in the Mishnah, if a fellow inherits his wife passed away, inherited her property, that Yovel comes and he must return his inheritance to her family. He should give them a good price. I give you a good price. And we ask, my Ksav, I don't understand. If Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka holds that the husband inheriting his wife is midoraisa, so why does he have to give it back to her family? If he inherits her, it shouldn't go back at Yovel. Midrabanon, and if it's only midrabanon, so then why do they have to pay him for it? If it's midrabanon, so then Mele comes Yovel, it goes back to her family. He shouldn't have to, they shouldn't have to pay him for that. And Rav answers for Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka that really the husband inheriting the wife is mida oraisa. However, in this case, uchagon sheorishto ishto beis hakvaris, that his wife, her nichse malug, was a beis hakvaris, was a cemetery, a family cemetery, and now he is in possession of her family's cemetery. Mishum pekam mishpacha, that it's sort of awkward that, other people are going to be buried in their cemetery, and, so it just goes back to them. Rabbanan, the rabbi said, Lishkol Dmei Filihader, let the husband just accept money, right? Let his wife's family pay him, and let him accept that money, and then they get back their cemetery. Umay nokalem and Adam, what does it mean that he gives them a good price? To make kever ishto, that he reduces from the price the value of his wife's grave. Kedetanya is within a brayso mocher kivro, that if a fellow sells his grave, v'derech kivro, on the path to his grave, ma'imodo, umakom espedo, and the place where they conduct the funeral, ba'im b'nei mishpachto, mishpacha v'koven oso, bal korcho, his family can come and bury him there nonetheless, mishum b'kam mishpacha, because it's not good for the family, it's not nice for the family that they don't have the regular burial spot. So what do we see? So we see that Rav seems to be explaining, at least according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, that a husband inheriting his wife is midoraisa. Rav the time of Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka ka'amar v'leilos firle. Rav was saying that Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka holds that Yerusha Sabal is midoraisa. Rav, however, holds that Yerusha Sabal is midorabanan. Friends, that was Daf Pei Gimel of Masechta Ksubis, as well as some of Daf Pei Daled, which means that tomorrow we have a lot less to do on Daf Pei Daled. But we went the extra mile, so that b'zchus us going the extra mile, the Eibishter is going to go the extra mile for us, and He's going to bless us with the most geshmaka year that we have. A year full of winning at life. That was Daf Pei Gimel of Masechta Ksubis. Stark. Friends, we started the 9th parak of Masechta Ksubis today about what happens in a situation when a fellow writes that he's not going to have any benefit from his wife's field, and what the nafkaminas are there in terms of does he still inherit the fields. Peace.